Okay, so now after we talked about the children of Israel and that they ate manna for 40 years, we know about why people fast for the 40 days before Easter, right? Um, so then it reads, okay, until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Okay, that was the end of the last one. So then we start with 17. I just haven't read in a while, so I'm trying to remember where we left off. Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin. Sin is capitalized, so that's a place. According to the commandment of the Lord, encamped in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people contended with Moses and said, "Give us water that we may drink." So Moses said to them, "Why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord?" And the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses and says, "Why is it you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, "What shall I do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." So they've already, another example, they're already ready to give up on God again after they have witnessed miracles, after they are no longer slaves, but yet they are. They are still slaves to sin. They are still slaves to not trusting God. And so they fall back into the sin of not trusting God, and they become violent when they don't get what they want, right? We see this today. They're beginning to, revolt. We don't have what we want. We don't have our water. We don't have the food. And right now, in the world today, we're going through this corona thing, the coronavirus, and they've shut down the businesses, and they're going to open them soon and everything. But you can see people abusing their power and people getting arrested for, going out alone in a public area, but they're not around other people, or having somebody stop by and drop something off. I mean, there are reasonable limits of quarantine, but of course you've got always these people who want to control what others are doing. And when they become, and then we have this big toilet paper crisis. Oh, it's been crazy. But oh my gosh, what are they going to do without their toilet paper, right? And they're fighting in the aisles over toilet paper. I mean, just madness. But the sadness of underneath all of this selfishness is yet the underground world of the children who are sold, and men and women that are sold into the sex slave industry and who are being abused daily all over this world by these horrible monsters of people who have completely given up their souls to sin. If there is any light in there, it would have to probably only could be sparked by Jesus himself. And these people who are fighting over toilet paper have no regard for true suffering. But these people are thirsty, right? And he's like, they're ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, and look at Donald Trump, they're ready to stone him no matter how much good he does, no matter how much he tries to follow God against abortion and against corruption and all these things. These people are still wanting to stone him, aren't they? So Moses cried out to the Lord, and he said, they're ready to stone him. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go on before the people." Oh, sorry. And take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the contention of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? Right? So they're tempting him. They're making him angry up against them, huh? And he says, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord, thy God, right? Says that. And you hear people all the time saying, Is God here? If God is here, then why is all this bad stuff happening? If God is here, why this? Why that? Is he here? Is there a God? You hear this all the time, right? But then the God writes it in the commandments, and he means it. And then remember, he only performed this miracle in front of these elders of Israel. Why didn't he perform it in front of all the people? Well, he has chosen to only perform it in front of these people, and probably, my guess, I don't know, is because he knows no matter what miracle he performs in front of these people, they will continue to fight against their job, which is to trust in him and to pray and to try to live a righteous life, right? But so he chose these people who would understand the miracle and who would be grateful for the miracle, not expect something as if they are deserving of it. So, let's see. Now Amalek came and fought with Israel and Rephidim. Oh no. Oh, sorry. I didn't get much sleep. And Moses said to Joshua, Choose us some men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill, the three of them together. And so it was when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed, but when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands became heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, Write this for a memorial in the book, and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called its name, The Lord is my banner. For he said, Because the Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So Moses was there with two others, right? He had to have those two others with him to hold up his arms. And what is this a representation of? That there is a fight going on, and that what did God say? He said on the seventh day he rested. Because God needs rest also, apparently. Otherwise he wouldn't say it. And just like he couldn't do it on his own, Moses had two others that held up his hands. And look, this fight went on the entire day. Now, why didn't God just take care of it, right? Why didn't he just kill them all? And the fight was over just like that, right? Well, there was a reason. This was an example of what goes on every day. And he said that he will blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So it will all be blotted out. But and he said to recount it in the book of Joshua, which we've read Joshua. But he said, because the Lord has sworn, and the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So apparently, until it is all blotted out, this war will last for generations, and not only forever, from generation to generation. So this is going to go on until it is blotted out from up underneath heaven, until they are blotted out, their remembrance. So who are the Amaleks? I don't know. You have to look it up. But I always look at what the point of the story is. But the point is there will be war with a certain people forever until the revelation, until the coming of Christ, until he takes over everything, and until it is blotted out underneath heaven, right? But who did Moses need? He needed two. And who does God have? He has Jesus and the Holy Spirit, right? They are working together to conquer this sin that has riddled this planet. And like he says, there's a reason for all of it, but trying to understand the reason is very difficult. I have my own interpretation, but I'm sure it's not 100%. But I just personally believe that what I've said before, that people give the devil too much credit, that many of us want to commit sin. We don't have to go to the devil for it, and some of us show the devil how it's done. And so he is a form of punishment for this sin that people follow, because they intentionally seek, people seek money, right, through porn and all this kind of stuff. Well, if you don't think that, even if they don't participate in the porn, they are going to pay for the sin that they have created for the almighty, money in the bank. And the funny thing is how many of them don't get it through their head that all this sin that they are creating, that they will pay for, and all these things, and how great they feel with all that big money in the bank just around us, just around people, as if we're so important to them. Because most of these rich people couldn't give a crap about all the people. They just love themselves so much, and they just want this glorification for themselves from people that they care nothing about. And they don't get to take any of the money with them. It is the most vicious cycle of sin. But when they create more sin, and when they feed into the sin, and when they know the horrors. Now, some people make money and they truly believe in God, and they are doing everything they can to support Jesus and the Holy Spirit and God in this battle. And he grants people, he blesses them with riches, because you have to have all the way down the level, from the richest to the poorest, right? Those who believe and those who don't believe, so you can fight this battle evenly. But the funniest thing and the saddest thing for these people is they have nothing, right, other than the glorification of people who they do not care about. They do not care about these people, and they will take with them nothing other than their souls. And that soul will be punished for every sin. And if that sin affects a generation upon a generation upon a generation, they will pay for all that sin. So if someone is a pedophile and they have sex with a child, that child has to suffer basically for the rest of their lives. Even if they forgive, there is always some type of emotional or mental, spiritual suffering involved. And this suffering, it has to do with the whole entire family. And then the people who find out about it, who see it, the sadness that they didn't see it. There's just so many things involved in all this. And then, of course, you have the complete sickness in the world with all these people and these porn things and these babies, having sex with 2-month-old babies and 1-month-old babies and things like this. And then we know about, of course, there's just so many bad things, but they're going to pay for every single bit of it. The sin that they cannot get enough of is the sin that is going to send them to the land of punishment. And that is the interesting thing. Their souls are completely doused in sin. But they are going to be sent where their souls will pay for all that sin. And everything that happens and that they do, it will be much horrible for them when they're paying for it. And it is what it is. And there's just some people that aren't going to have it any other way. Okay, that was 17. So I'm going to stop because that's 15 minutes. See how long. And the next is 18. Have a nice day.